The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. I appreciate you taking some time out of your day to go through this webinar with us. My name is Ashley. I'm a vehicle tracking expert here at Quartix. And what we're going to do today is I'm going to go over some information that our customers have shared with us on how they use driving style features. And then we're going to get in depth into our Info Plus driving style features, the driving style league table, the daily driver briefing, the monthly speed report, and we're also going to look at one of our newer ones, the driving style trend report. I do want to just let you know up front, these are for in the Info Plus, not the Info Point plans. However, if you do have Info Point, feel free to listen in, and if you're interested in upgrading or have any questions, let us know. But I just want to let you know right up front, these ones are just included in Info Plus. We're going to finish up with a Q&A hosted by my colleague, Lindsay. And I just wanted to stress, you know, this webinar is for you guys. It's for our customers. It's not for people who are considering Quartix. It's for real businesses out there. So we're going to give you some real-life applications and tips. And as we go throughout the session, I'd love to hear if you have any questions. So what you can do is, if anything comes up as we're going through, you can just type a question into the questions section in the webinar navigation pane. And I've got a little arrow here pointing so you know where to put it. And then I'll be getting back to you with answers at the end. So today I wanted to start with a quote from one of my great longtime customers, Denise Quintana Brito. She owns the business A Quick Tow in Colorado. And she shared with us, "I'm sure I've saved on speeding tickets using the driving style feature. I can tell when our drivers idle too long and help them correct that. It puts my mind at rest knowing my drivers are traveling safely." So that's what we want for you guys. We want you to have that confidence and calm of knowing that they're doing well, and we want you to have the tools to help your drivers improve if they need it. So we're going to start today with a little bit of math. So if you can just bear with me briefly, these are some things that are going to come up throughout the session. So we're going to look at the acceleration and braking indexes. So what we want to keep in mind is the acceleration and braking index scores, which you'll see throughout several features. They can take into account both frequency and severity during a given time period. So the way we calculate that, there's actually an accelerometer in the device itself, and it can track the different rates of acceleration. And the way we judge that is by levels 1, so you'll see here, all the way through level 5. And the speedometer shows these 10 levels, and each level has weighting based on severity. I always like to tell people, think of level 1 as the smoothest transition from one speed to the next. And think of level 5 with accelerating. That would be like, you know, they think they're in a drag race, they're in the Fast and Furious movie. Or braking at level 5 is they're hitting the brakes like a deer ran into the road. So we're going to come across that in several different features today. And the first feature we're going to look at is going to be our driving style league table. So this one's great for giving you an overview of fleet performance. You can see an automatic ranking of your drivers, and you can easily export it to Excel. So we're going to jump over to our website here. And the place you're going to find all these features is, of course, under driving style. So we're going to click on driving style, and we're going to go to the second one down, driving style league table. So something I just want to point out before we sort of jump in here is that you'll notice in many of the ones we go through today, it has group. So if you have a larger fleet or multiple locations, it can help to organize your vehicles into different groups so that you can just go right to the ones you want. And then the next thing is it says group by, and you'll see vehicle or driver right here. Now, this is something that I wanted to point out because our standard Info Plus, you're going to always, if you have that one, you're always going to click on vehicle. But if you have our Info Plus add-in, the driver ID system, you can choose driver. And just to give you a quick overview on that, it's with the driver ID, it would be an add-on to Info Plus, and there's a small piece of hardware that goes on the dashboard, and your drivers would have key fobs they would connect with it, so that you would see the scores for the driver, no matter what vehicle they're driving in. So if you have questions about that, let me know, and we can cover that at the end. But for now, we're just going to dive right in here. And so we're going to go back to February for this one. So I'm going to do let's do from the 20th to the 22nd, and you can either type in the date. If you do, you want to make sure you do 2 digits for the month and the day, or you can just go click the little calendar icon. Both are great ways to do it. So we're going to go to the 22nd, and we're going to click OK. And with this, it's a great way, like I was mentioning earlier, of looking at how your drivers do in comparison with one another. So first thing we're going to look at here is under driving style. So you'll notice we've got some in green. Green tends to be good, and it is here. Those are your top performing drivers. Yellow, that's going to mean they have kind of mid-range scores. You know, they have some room for improvement. And red, well, red usually means bad news. So we've got the color coding, and then we've got the driving style score in this last column on the right. So they get a score that's going to be from 0 to 100, 100 being the best. And what we look at to come up with that score is our acceleration and braking index scores. So we already covered a bit how the rates are calculated. And the way this works is if for whatever time period you choose, so for this one, we're doing the 20th to the 22nd of February. It tells you how many times they were at those 5 different levels of braking and accelerating. The higher the number, like we've got here, 57.2, that means the worse their performance, and that's because they are more frequently in the high ranges, the more dangerous ranges of braking and accelerating. So one thing I wanted to show you before we jump to the next feature, as I mentioned, it automatically ranks them from worst to best, but we've got these little arrows here you'll see in the header bar. So if you wanted to, say, look at their scores based on who drove the most, you can click the little arrow next to driving style. So you have all different options on how to sort it, and you can also very easily export it to Excel right here in that gray box that says Hi Demo. So the next thing we're going to look at is going to be our daily driver briefing. So with this one, you get to look at an individual day and see their score for that day, as well as you get to look at some patterns. So I wanted to jump right into it for this one here. Where's our red one? The one that is doing the worst, this poor eco line here. I don't know what's going on with it. We're going to click right on the vehicle registration. You've got a pop-up, lets you choose what you want. We're going to do daily driver briefing. And here we've got, ooh, this is a good one to look at because they're kind of all over the place. So if you scroll down a bit, you'll see the main components here are the speed report, which shows you the time of day along the bottom, and then the blue lines show you how fast they were going each time they checked their location. So we see here 6:41 a.m. they were going 70.9 miles per hour. And then below that, in the driving style report, this is showing you those rates of braking and accelerating. And they are going crazy here. The green line, the higher it goes, that means the more extreme the acceleration. The lower the red line goes, the more extreme the braking. And this is pretty indicative of what you see on a driver that is in the red, so to speak, one that has a very low score. We've got the driving score here. You'll see it's 43.8 out of 100. And that is largely because they are accelerating too much, and then, you know, they've accelerated like crazy. They have to brake to make up the difference in speed. And that is bad, bad, bad for your vehicle. Bad for the tires, indicates that they're just not safe when they're braking like that. If they're accelerating a lot, they're burning through fuel they don't need to. It's just not a good scene here. And what we have, before we delve into a little more detail on the driving style component, is I wanted to show you that we also have this handy blue box here at the top. So I always think it's nice to get as much context as you can, especially when you're looking at driver performance. So in addition to the score and these visuals of their patterns, we've got the summary box. So you can just quickly and easily see when they started their first trip and is the last one, and you see their driving, stationary, and idling time. Now, what I wanted to show you next here is often people find when they're looking at these, they want to know where the vehicles are, because sometimes, you know, there's a reason. Maybe they are somewhere where it would make sense they would stop short, maybe not. So what we're going to do is take a closer look at where they were. So we're just going to hold our mouse here over these, and let me see here. I'm going to go to, let's look at what they were doing right here at 3:12. So what you can do is just click on any of these lines, and this is going to bring you over to the route map. So you'll notice the route map if you were in our last webinar, and this shows you these circles are where the vehicle was each time we checked its location. And what you'll see here is one of them, this green one with a neon outline around it, that is where that vehicle was during the time we looked at in the report. So this is going to be extremely helpful if you're talking to your driver about it. It gives you the context, and it gives you a good visual as a talking point. If the driver doesn't remember where they were there, or if you're trying to figure out some more info, you can even go to the lower right-hand corner of the map, click the little yellow man there, drag him over, and then you can just drop him on top of that circle. And this is going to show you a visual of where it was at that time. So again, the more info, the better, and we try to make things as visual as possible with our system. So we've gone through here sort of the driving style league table, and we jumped into the daily driver briefing, and I just kind of wanted to go over some of the key points on the briefing before we take a look at the next one. So again, with this one, you can analyze the driving speed and acceleration patterns. It's a great talking point, and it's really easy to jump to the daily route map if you need more of a visual. So the next thing we're going to take a look at here is going to be our driving style trend report. This is one of our newer reports, and what I like about it, you can monitor their trends over time, and I like that you can also get a visual of driving time as well as their score, and it's another one that's going to be really easy to export to Excel. So we're going to jump back over to our website here, and we'll take a look at how our drivers are doing. So we're here in the route map. We're going to go back to the menu. We're going to jump to driving style again, and then we're going to look at the driving style trend report. So here you can select a vehicle, or again, if you have driver ID, you can select the driver. I'm going to go with that same one we were looking at before, the one that score wasn't too great in February. So we're going to look at the Ford Ecoline, and let me see here. So for the date range, I think let's look for the month of February, so we can put into perspective what we saw in that previous report. So we're going to click the OK button to jump on through. And here you'll see this is very visual one. You have along the left-hand side, you've got 100, 80, 60, 40. So this is their driving style score. Again, 100 is going to be the best, 0 the worst. Along the bottom, you've got the days. And then you're going to see here what their scores were on each of the days they were driving. So if you hold your mouse over one, you'll see it shows you the day, and it'll show you their score and then also how much they drove. So a good example of how you can use this is, let's look at their 2 worst scores from this month. So we've got this one here. We're going to hold our mouse over, and you'll see that on the 17th, their score was really miserable. It was 23.8. Now, on that day, they drove 7 hours and 58 minutes. Now, the following day here, we've got a little red circle. You'll see that on the 18th, the next day, they did 26.2, and they had a driving time of 1 hour and 21 minutes. So what we know from that is that they did, they're doing generally, actually, this is kind of an exception to the rule. Generally, you find the more they're driving, the higher their score. But this one looks like this driver may have just been in a bit of a funk here at the end of the month, because you'll see they started out strong, in whether they had a small amount of driving time or a longer amount of driving time. And then, right around the 17th on, they, saw a dip here. So this, again, is going to be a great point to bring up when you talk to your drivers, so that you can look at, the specifics on what they were doing on a particular day. I would also talk to them and say, hey, what's going on this week? I noticed that near the end of the month, your score really went down a lot. Was there something that was affecting your performance? So it's all going to help you talk with your driver, get everyone to the, the speed you want them at. And you can see here in the high demo box, it says export. So again, you can export this data to Excel if you want to keep it for record keeping. So here we've looked through this one, and I want to show you one of our most popular driving performance features, which is going to be the monthly speed report. So this one is going to be great if you are looking at a top speed that you don't want them to go above. So what we do is you can choose, oh, 1 second here. My computer has a bit of a mind of its own. Let's see, come on, computer. Oh, well, here, we'll go back to this one. Here, I'll figure it out. Well, so what we're going to do here is, there we are. All right, thanks for bearing with me. So the monthly speed report, it's going to record each time the vehicle travels over a configurable speed limit. It allows you to jump to the route map to see where that speed limit was breached. And again, super easy to export to Excel. So we're going to go back to the website and take a look at, we're going to look at that February again. So from here, we're going to go to the driving style header in the main menu. And we're going to click here. And what we'll do is choose that date range we want. And now one thing you'll notice here, it says speed limit in miles per hour. This actually means the top speed that you want your vehicles to drive at, rather than like your local speed limit. So I'm going to put in 80 because no one wants their vehicles going 80. And we're going to click the OK button because we've already got the end date selected. Great. So, wow, okay. So we've got a lot of time above 80 this month. What you'll see here is in the first column, you've got the vehicle info. Then the next one, you're going to see their top speed for any given day. And then you also see what time they were at that top speed, and then how many minutes they were above 80 miles per hour. Now this is a summary page, but then you can get more detail. So we're going to look at the first three here. So in the first one, you'll see that they only spent 1 minute above 80. The next one, only 1 minute above 80. And then we've got the third one down, 17 minutes above 80 miles per hour in one day. So we're going to get more info here by clicking the plus sign next to the vehicle. And this gives you a full rundown on what was going on. So what we'll look at here first is the time. So you can already glean some information by looking at the times that they were above 80. Now what I'm seeing and what it looks like to me, so we've got between 11:02 to 11:24. That's kind of their first round of going too fast. And then we've got 3:35 through 3:53. Now that to me immediately, without getting any more info, says, wow, they are really rushing to get their work done before lunch, and they're rushing to get their work done before the end of the day. So from here, what you can do is jump to any of the different ones of the, oh, 1 second here. I believe I just want to, for some reason, it just paused on me. I want you to see all the good stuff we're covering here. So I'm just going to click on this guy again. All right, there we go. Okay, so what we're going to do is, now we've got an idea for what the pattern was for that vehicle, and we're going to click on their fastest speed for that day. So that is going to be the 84.5, which they were at 351. So what we're going to do is click on that speed, and it's going to bring us through to the route map. So now this gives us, again, that visual for more perspective, more of talking points to go through with your driver. And if you zoom in, you're going to see exactly where they were when they hit that top speed. So they were right here. You see it indicated with the green circle around that, that one data point showing you where they were. It gives you a nice sense for how fast they were going, where they were. And then you'd also be able to use the street view or satellite view if you wanted even more of a visual. So from here, what we're going to do, I would love to open things up to you guys. We've gone through, sort of zoomed through some of the features here. I'd love to answer any questions that you have about the specific features or how to use them even, because I have gotten some anecdotal info from our customers. So we're going to open it up to my colleague, Lindsay Miller, and she's going to be asking me some of the questions that you shared with us. Hi, Lindsay. How are you today?
Hey, Ashley. Good. Thank you. We do have a couple of questions from the participants today, and I did want to say before we get started, if we don't get to your question during the webinar, we do have all of the contact information. So if we don't get to you, we will send you an email with your answers. So don't fret on that end. But let's get started. So Shari asks, can you explain the different sizes in the for the circles in the driving trend score sheet?
Yeah, absolutely. So let me just jump back over to the feature. I was like having the visual there while I chat about it. So one moment while I just pull that part up. So we're going to go back to driving style, and we're going to do driving style trend report. And we're going to choose that equal line again. And we've already got the date range selected. Okay, so we've got here a bunch of different info. So we've got the 100 to 0. So that's their overall score. We've got their days of the week. And if you hold your mouse over where the lines are and where the circles are between the 0 and 100, that shows you what their score was. But what the, one moment here. But what you're going to be able to tell by looking at the size of the circle is going to be what the driving time is. So that's how, for example, if you look at, I'll just use the same example we did earlier. So this circle is much larger because it's showing you that the vehicle drove 7 hours and 58 minutes. So it shows you the location is what this shows you what the score was. The color shows you, where they rank in from worst to best in terms of are they top tier, middle range, or lower range. And then the size of the circle shows you an indicator of the driving time. So 7 hours and 58 minutes versus this little one here was just 1 hour and 28 minutes.
Great, thank you, Ashley. Our next one is from Ken. He asks, can you get email alerts for these kinds of trends?
Hey, that's a great question. So we have we don't have ones that are specific to the features, like you automatically do it within the feature, but you can get top speed alerts. So that's something that you'd be able to set up. And I would say if you're interested, Lindsay's going to give me your info, and either myself or support will follow up with you. But you can email support@quartix.com to set it up. What you do is tell them what that top speed you want the drivers to be at is, and then they'll set up so you get that alert when they go above that threshold.
Great, thank you.
Yep. Oh, sorry, Lindsay, I didn't mean to cut you off. As I was getting ready for you to speak, I just thought of 2 extra alert things I just wanted to mention is you can also, if you're interested in alerts, let us know, because we do also have ignition on alerts if you want to know when the vehicle is turned on. And you can also do geofencing alerts when they go in or out of a set area. So feel free to type that into the box if you want more info on that, and I'll follow up with you after.
Great, thank you. And we have time for one more question. So this one comes from Jim, and he asks, what do I do if the driver says one thing happened and the report shows something else?
Got it. That's really why we have these features. That's kind of, you want to trust your drivers, but you want them to do well, but you have to make sure you have all the same information. So generally what I say is sometimes people like to let them know, hey, we're going to start tracking your vehicle, and you can then maybe share the information with them. I think the more kind of upfront you are about it, you can get better results from them. So I would say if someone says, so for example, just using the report I have pulled up, if this driver said, hey, I didn't drive badly on February 17th, that's crazy. You can say, well, let's go into the information. Let's see why I'm concerned about your driving on that day. And then you can pull this info up. You can say, so here's what I'm looking at. You started out the month great. You had really great scores, whether you were driving a long day like you were on the 5th or a short day like you were on the 3rd. But then, for some reason, there was a really big dip in your performance on the 17th. And so I'd like to help investigate it with you to see how we can improve. So that's one way to do it. Make it very transparent to them, explain how the reports work. The other is, when all else fails, just show them the visual. Like we did with the speed report and with the daily driver briefing. If they're giving you a hard time, if they don't, say they really weren't there, go to the route map, use the street view, show them that visual. I'm sorry, you were here at that time. That's how fast you were going. I hope that helps. So thank you so much, Lindsay, for hosting. Do we have anything else, any other questions today?
There are a couple, but we are running out of time, so we will go ahead and send an email out to the few other people who had a couple questions.
Okay, wonderful. Well, thank you so much, Lindsay, and thanks again to all of you for joining us. We're going to have a poll starting in just a moment here. I'd love to hear your opinion. So we actually chose this topic because it was what was voted on from the last webinar. So if you have any questions or feedback, you can send it over here, and then the poll's now open. Let us know what you'd like to see. And actually, while you are voting, I wanted to let you know, I'm going to show you a slide with some more details once the poll is closed. But I wanted to let you know, if you haven't already heard about it, we have a really great referral program here. So if you like what you see, or are happy with the system, have a friend or a colleague who you think would be interested in using the system for their company, you can help them out, and you can get a really good bonus for yourself, which is when a company that you refer signs up with Quartix. On their first order, you're going to get a $25 credit towards your account for each vehicle that they order and get installed. So thank you so much again for joining us today. Here's some more details on the referral program. If you know anyone who would be interested, you can email us or have them call in and mention your name. And again, if you have any questions, let us know. Thank you so much for taking the time today, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.